Hello, everybody. This is Abe again. Welcome back to the show. I have a wonderful guest today, Rasha. Rasha, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How's it going?
Been doing really well. Thank you for asking. So, Rasha, tell me more about you and tell me more about what you do.
My name is Racha Ghamlouch. I currently run the Digital Digest, which is a daily and weekly news broadcast and aggregator. We're basically just send you the top news of the day and every week to your WhatsApp, Telegram, or email. So you don't have to go out there and look for the latest news or the latest reports, policies, changes, all these kinds of stuff. Alongside that, I work with startups to help them on community building and communication, something that we're finally taking seriously in this region. So that's a fun thing to do. And that's it. I love helping startups. I love the tech world and ecosystem and all that.
Amazing, amazing. Okay, so tell me more about what you do. I know you talked about communication, and communication is something that is super crucial. And I keep telling all the startups and all the companies that I've, especially SMEs, I've been working with, communication is, if not the biggest, one of the biggest problems in company structure, and it's actually one of the biggest killers of businesses, is because when people don't communicate, or you'll find a lot of companies with people doing the exact same thing because nobody knows what's going on, nobody communicates, and nobody relays to each other what they exactly work on, and that's what I see a lot happening. So tell me more about that.
So most of the time with these startups, it's the basic logic is not there. Like even before getting into like the proper detailed in-depth communication strategies that you need to put into place, most startups will not have a vision and mission statement. They won't have onboarding kits. Even if you're pre-series A, even if you're onboarding one person a month, having an onboarding kit just literally helps you define for yourself who you are as a company and what do you stand for and what is it that you do. And then when somebody new comes, they're able to understand who you are.
Mm,
The most challenge I see is that founders have a hard time committing to who they are.
mm,
So it really becomes more of an exercise of why is it so hard for you to understand to commit to why are you doing this? What does this company mean to you personally?
yep,
And why does it matter for you that you need to do this? And unfortunately, a lot of the time people think this is trivial. Like, why does it matter what my personal goal is from all of this, when it's really a big deal because it you unintentionally twist and turn your startup in little ways to fit your goal,
sure,
because subconsciously that's what you're building a company you want to build. You're not building somebody else's company.
yep,
And you're kind of changing and iterating to be able to fit that without knowing it. If you go through the exercise at the beginning, it just becomes easier for you. It becomes easier for the team instead of guessing what you want. And then it also becomes easier for you to tell the world what you're doing. What am I doing? What am I building? Why am I building it? And what is my noble cause for building this? What's my purpose for existence?
sure.
And then and what does that even mean? What does that translate to? Does that am I trying to make the world a better place by giving more financial tools for people to manage their expenses? Or am I doing it through connecting the world or spreading, increasing education? Like the tools don't matter. The vision, any startups can have very similar visions, but their purpose might be different, and the details, these are the kind of things you have to work through so that you can eventually get to communicating them. Otherwise, you're just telling the world, hi, I am here. I am yet another business that does yet another thing that everybody else does.
What you're saying is 100%. Um, I see that myself with a lot of the founders. What people don't understand, bad hires, is an average cost of 14 salaries. So my biggest fear wasn't getting talent into the door, is getting talent to stay. And with proper onboarding, A, you would tell, B, they the people who are working there would know exactly what they're doing there, right? So, but you touched on something that is crucial. We talked about vision and mission. But I walked in and I help a lot of companies, and I've seen companies who are 3 to 5 years old who don't even have company values, and these are very, very important. You know what I mean? And by the way, this is not nonsense. It's because to build a culture, to attract talent, you need those values. You need people that, yes, address your blind spot, but they need to believe in the same common goal, and these are the values. And I'm not talking about your generic vanilla values of be honest and like, no, no, I'm talking about stuff that is really impactful. You know what I mean? It kind of defines what the mission statement is. You know, yes, everybody wants to do disruption, everybody wants to do these buzzwords, but no, it's not about that. It's just who are you as a founder, and what do you value most, and these are the people who are going to follow you.
And the problem is most people use vanilla values. That's like 100% the most biggest problem, which is most people will take, oh, this is cool, we want to do X, and they'll drive to one of those furniture stores and buy ready print motivational posters and call them their values.
And beanbags, everybody.
I like beanbags. They'll buy like these, strive for perfection or aim for the stars, or they call these their values. These are not your values. These are not your unique values. Your values have to come from understanding what are the things you will tolerate and what are the things you will not tolerate. And these are the same principles as building a community. If you do not define what are the behaviors that are, you need to model behaviors that you want in your company and you don't want in your company, and same for your community. And if you don't model this behavior, it's not going to happen. Reid Hoffman, in one of the podcasts on Masters of Scale, says, you set culture within your first 10 employees. If there's no diversity in your first 10 employees, you're going to have a very hard time getting diverse later.
It's true. It's true. No, I 100% agree. I 100% agree. So you have to lead by example, and you have to
Yeah.
I see that a lot with especially SMEs. Actually, they say one of our values is transparency and honesty. Yet, I'm not saying they're not honest. I'm just saying, people walk in and say, okay, what's next for me? In all fairness, in an SME, sometimes there isn't that much of a career path, right?
Sure.
So they'll be like, listen, as we grow, we'll figure it out. And that's the honest answer. While people say, no, tomorrow you'll be GM, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, okay, GM of what? If you're the owner and the GM, like, where are you going to go, right? So logically, and a lot of, in all fairness, I've met a lot of really super cool SMEs and startup founders who have a 3-year exit. Like they will exit in 3 years to see how, because I keep talking about the levels, right? Every person would take the company to a certain level. Like I can't do from the ground up startups anymore. I used to do it. Now I'm much more senior. I'd like to take it from like a 30%, and I'll grow it to like a 70%, right? So again, but I also know my limits. And some of these founders know that, and it's fantastic that they know that. They say, okay, maybe one day you'd replace me. They'd be honest, but sometimes the employee they say, no, where is he gonna go, right? But you need to give them the reasons and stuff like that, and they don't follow through. And that's something. That's why values are so important. And I have so many examples about this, by the way, like so many values.
And here's the funny part. A lot of the times people, you'll talk to an owner and they'll tell you about their values and their principles and the amazing product they're building, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, cool. We need to interview the team without you. And we'll have one-on-one conversations with the team. And about 90% of the time, everything the founder said does not translate. And regardless, it doesn't matter. Even in community building, what the founder thinks is going on in the community is not what is going on in the community's heads, because it's not communicated. That repetition is just, every time it happens, I kind of laugh because I'm like, there you go. But it's almost 100% of the time, it's just communication. It's so easy to fix. It's like, you have all these cool features that you think your consumer loves your product for.
Yeah.
And I call them and they're asking for the features you have.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
not telling them, you're not communicating it to them enough.
You know what you just said. The only thing I can think of is that meme that says what the founder thinks, what the employees think, what the clients think, what the community thinks. You know what I mean? And it's true. It's because there's multiple levels of communication on which channel, or who's your target audience, and some people, because they've been doing this for so long that they think that everybody, the language that they're speaking right now, that everybody understands, especially jargon. I see a lot of founders, and especially in tech companies, they talk about jargon, and then you talk to their customers, and it's like
They
no
don't
clue
get it.
what's going on, right? So
They don't get it.
the type of communication, the channel they're using, obviously, we were talking a couple of months ago to an F&B company that I was trying to help out coming into the UAE, and and it's an older gentleman, right, talking about and how he wants to enter the market with TikTok, and he had no idea what TikTok was, right? Like, and I'm like, so the communication, like, you cannot do corporate communication on TikTok. Yeah,
I will not say never. I will. You know what? I rest my case on all these new platforms. I will not say never.
no. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, you know what? Okay, I'll give you something that happened to me personally. When I walked into one of my previous employers, there was a different communication method with the age groups. We used to target youthful people, yet everybody in the company was a lot older, right? So and the way I really went around it is, we did a lot of interviews with university fresh grads, and then we hired a couple of them because we had to get this, what I called the translator layer between what we were thinking and how they
100%.
would communicate it. Because if we spoke the normal language we did, we would have lost them. And that's something, and I think that was a good hack that we did.
100%. And I think I don't get TikTok. I'm not that old. I still don't get TikTok. It's an abyss to me. It's just too much.
Yeah.
Uh,
Uh,
and and I saw a post 2 days ago on LinkedIn where someone was hiring a full talk TikTok content creator, and I was like, wow, I feel old.
yeah.
But we take like a very methodical approach to the way we analyze these things. And listen, if your customer is on TikTok, go on TikTok. If your
Yeah.
customer is on Snapchat, go on Snapchat, but hire the right people to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Don't um don't fake it. And I think this is one of the most important pillars of community building, or even with communication, is honestly, don't fake it. It's 2021. People can smell fakeness through
Yes.
the ether.
Agreed.
It's so easy for people to tell you're faking it, whether it's community, whether it's communication, whatever it is. There's so much going on that people see patterns of behavior, even if they don't consciously see them,
Yeah.
they know them, they experience them. And then if you're faking your company, your ethos, the principles you stand for, or the community you're trying to build, you know what? People can see it.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be worse. It's better for you not to be on social if you're gonna fake social.
And this is a good segue into the show, into where we talk about failures, right? So, and I think that's where a lot of founders and a lot of owners and a lot of CEOs, struggle. And this is something that leads into failure. Them admitting that they want to do it on their own, but obviously have no way to do it. They talk the talk, but there's no walking the walk, right? So tell us more about these patterns, or like failures or learnings that you've personally experienced.
It's funny because I feel like uh, I now that I look back on my like career and the things I've done in my life, communication was a big part of it. So, and I don't say like I was bad at communicating. I didn't have enough experience to communicate my ideas and to adapt them to my target audience in the context I was in, and therefore like most of the times where I had difficulty at work, it was about communication. Um, and that's a big learning curve. Sometimes, look, sometimes the receiving end is just not receiving,
Mm.
and you can try your best. But a lot of the time, because a lot, like most of the work that I did was working with clients and delivering and building content, and I ran conferences. When I used to hire people, I used to tell them, look, it's very simple. 50% of what we do is communication, 50%, the other 50% is research. There's nothing else. That's all we do. And communicating with people is not easy, because when you're doing a conference and you're having 150 speakers come in, you're talking to probably 250 people between their assistants and their PR teams and their marketing teams and everyone else on their teams. And triangulating that with the sponsors and the startups and the competitions and all these kinds of other stakeholders that come together to create a conference.
Sure.
Communication becomes super important. Clear communications becomes super important. And also early communication. Like if something is going wrong, tell people immediately that something's going wrong. Like don't wait till the last minute. And some people don't receive communication very well. So that's also something you need to mitigate for. It's little, there's a thread going on social media right now about the right way to address people in emails. That's something you have to tiptoe around a lot when it comes to talking to people, different people with different age groups, sometimes not even age groups. Sometimes it's honestly just cultures, expect different forms of communication. And even later on when you're conveying your ideas to people, how do you design these ideas in a way, how do you break them down in a way that is understandable to the other end, because that other person is not sitting in your head.
Yep. I have this problem, and a lot of people told me something that maybe I should tell you. It's like, why don't you start having a linear conversation? Because you want to add like this plus this,
Yes,
because
layers
you
of
have a
complexity.
million ideas that trying to leave at the same time. And you're like that, and they're like, I don't understand. So like, let's have a linear conversation, right? And I feel a lot of founders and a lot of CEOs and a lot of owners have this problem because they have so much on their mind and they just want to.
Exactly. And I think the best way to actually, and it's not an exercise of communication as much as an exercise of communication to yourself.
Yeah.
If you write down your ideas and you map them out, you want to draw them in a spider map, you want to draw them in a pie chart, whatever you want to do with it, a diagram or whatever, it will help you understand and see these ideas in your head. And then you're like, oh, wait, something is off about this. And then you start iterating and iterating and iterating until it makes sense. And it's an iterative process. You're not going to get it right from the beginning. But if you see it and you're able to demonstrate it to people, then you're going to be able to have a more informed conversation about where people are getting stuck and understanding your ideas and understanding what you're trying to communicate to them. And obviously, not everything you need to communicate needs to go through this whole process.
Sure.
The rule is if you're communicating internally, you can't communicate enough. And especially when in a digital world, repeating the same message is so important. But internally, you can't communicate enough. And of course, there are places where keeping out information that is not ready or just too rough or whatever you want to, the more rough the idea, the closer the circle. But also when you want to communicate outside your company or outside your community, the simpler the better. And this is funny because this is, to me, well, I studied design in college. So the new rule number one in design is your design piece or work or print or whatever it is you're designing has to do one job. It cannot do 300 jobs. It is one thing. It does one thing. That's it. And let it do that one thing right, and then drop everything else. Leave it for another design. Leave it for another project.
Yep.
So don't overdo it.
It's very good advice, actually. I think there's a lot of people that suffer from overthinking and over designing, stuff. But make sure it's clear, run it by a couple of people, and I think that should, and what people don't understand is people do give you another chance, honestly, unless it's something major, wrong, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean. Like they do give you like people a lot of times they're nice the first time they laugh about it, but if you can reiterate to yourself, it'll do really really well, right? So any regrets so far?
No, I don't. I don't. I don't regret things. I don't know.
Yeah, I
I'm a
think
weird person.
on other episodes I've been saying the same exact thing. I never regret anything. Even if you turn on a job and this job, you become the C-suite of a unicorn up and coming or whatever. But honestly, no regrets. I don't know if I would have lasted that long. Like there's a many situations there, so that's something that we can definitely agree on. And I have another question for you before we wrap up. So if you've had or you have the ability to get a superpower or a superhero, who would it be or what would it be?
Hmm. Can I teleport? Look, I would have said teleport in another a year ago,
Okay, that's because of the
but that's kind
pandemic.
of
Yeah,
but that's kind of useless right now since we can do everything at home. 99% of the time we can do everything at home.
sure.
Um, more hours in a day.
So you want to stop time? Is that what you want to do?
I don't know. You know what? It's a hard question because honestly maybe it's really about the same thing, like how can I translate my brain into something that people can understand.
Yeah.
That would be telepathy of some kind would be great because then I don't have to figure out how to best communicate these ideas in my head to people.
You want to hear something funny? Almost every interview I've had, people said telepathy. So people want to. So I guess that's something that is very popular right now, and people are really. Uh, the teleportation one is very interesting because then you can be in multiple places, and the time stopping one I haven't heard before. So that's good because I can relate. Instead of me working 15 and 16-hour
But
days.
you are going to be working 16 hours a day. That's the thing. That's why I took back that one. I need to be less of a workaholic. I already work too much.
So instead of like by the time you're done, I'm like, oh my god, it's 10 p.m. Like I can't do anything else.
Look, the rule is work stretches into whatever time you give it.
Yeah, it's true.
If you give it 30 hours, it will take 30 hours. So I'll take better efficient use of time through telepathy.
Okay, all right, nice, a hybrid one. That's super. Maybe I don't know. You need to come up with a name for that as a superhero. Any last words before we wrap up?
Um, I think it's a good time to slow down. I think this is a year. I mean, last year we had a chance to slow down in shock. This year we need to slow down more mindfully, and like just tell and share more what you're doing. What are you thinking? This is a great time to build um, healthy communities and healthy groups of people that are your support network, whether it's for your company or for yourself or for your family, building these kinds of open and transparent areas where you can share and that are there for you to brainstorm or just to kind of bounce ideas off. You know, keep communicating with people even though we are isolated, and realize that even when we were together, most of the time we weren't communicating that effectively.
Sure.
So now that we are online, we're forced into this. And I think this is a great exercise for mankind to be able to say, actually, let's never go back to being all together in the same room with bad communication and tension and just not the right reasons for being together. Let's just be together because we have the right reasons to be together and learn how to better be nicer to each other and communicate better and just hopefully be less tense and have less tense work environments.
Fantastic, fantastic. And thank you very much for being on the show.
You're welcome.
Lovely. I am going to mention the hashtag. It is real talk, no nonsense. So this is something that I think our conversation today really touched on that. Thanks a lot, Rasha, and until next time.
Thank you. And for those that want to follow the Digital Digest, just last plug, digitaldigest.me. You can follow us on any of the channels that are there.
Highly recommended, guys. Highly, highly recommended. All right. Take care.
Take care. You too.
Bye bye.